You've just accessed Hardware is Forever, your source for the expert insights, ideas, and innovations you need to do more in the electronics manufacturing industry. From optimization to operations, join us as we put the pieces together for a better approach to manufacturing. Let's go.
This is Hardware is Forever. I'm Chris Bitliff. Jay Patel, as always, is with us, CEO at Amtech. Jay, it's good to see you. Good to be with you. And we're going to start kind of another series, a topic of discussion around lean manufacturing, which I'm really interested to know your thoughts on this, what it means for Amtech, how it evolves or applies itself at Amtech. Lean manufacturing is obviously when we're trying to reduce waste to increase efficiency, but there's more to it than that. So when you are kind of from a leadership perspective or from a strategic perspective, how do you define or think of or approach the idea of lean manufacturing? And what are the hallmarks or the components of it that stand out for you the most?
Yeah, I think lean is easier to digest and understand than it is the 14 principles of Deming, because it is tangible. Like, it is physically tangible. It is intellectually tangible. It's just tangible. So like, I think when organizations initially look at how can we become a better organization, everybody loves lean. Accountants love lean. Shareholders love lean. They love, employees love lean because it is just immediate. Like, you go out there, it's like Newtonian, equal and opposite reaction. You go out there, find some waste, boom, you got it in your pocket. You got some more green in your pocket, you're good to go. So like, I think I think it could really be counterintuitive if you want to have a great company with lean process, not only manufacturing, but processes built in. What is manufacturing other than a process? So just lean processes built in. You need to have the right mindset, which I think the mindset and the framework that I think Deming provides. So prerequisite to lean, Deming, maybe. We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
intellectually, you're dovetailing from, and I like that you said it was prerequisite. So for you, it's kind of Deming was the jumping off point, or with that understanding or with those lessons learned, you are better prepared for sort of understanding lean. Because you're right, intellectually, the idea of lean equals, optimization. But as you point out, there's more to it.
Correct. So I think there's a lot more to it. There has to be foundation. Even people I've heard, they say, implement 5S, which is organization disciplines prior to implementing lean. Because if things are not organized, you can't find the things where they're supposed to be, then you're still wasting time. So first organize and then implement lean. And 5S is a whole different thing that we could possibly talk about at a different time. But I think lean, to implement lean, you have to have a little bit. You have to step back and make sure that you have the foundations and the foundational principles, the foundational approach in place. The second thing is and I think lean has become a really big buzzword. Like, go lean, implement. What are the wastes? All that kind of stuff. It's easily talked about. It's easily recognized, and everybody hears about it right now. And I think that's where I feel like a lot of companies fail in going and implementing lean successfully. Because the biggest proponent or the biggest winner of lean principles implemented is Toyota. And we've seen what they've done. So everybody knows that Toyota way, everybody knows the Toyota story, but there's a gap between Toyota, the way that they've implemented it versus everybody else. I think that starts with the prerequisite of the right leadership outlook, the foundations of leadership, which comes from Deming. So that being said, so what is lean? I think lean is a very simple way and a common sense way of systematizing. And I think one of the first principles is lean is adding value to the customer, or adding value and not just wasting things. And very, very simple. And and the idea is when waste is removed, the process becomes lean. And this is not something that was revolutionary. I think this comes a lot in common sense ways. They've said even in the 1400s, when Venice was building ships, they implemented a lot of lean principles and came up with this. And I think it's just been evolving in different ways of implementing it and aligning it with your organization. And the biggest proponents of modern day are probably Ford and Toyota. Ford started implementing them with the mass production of vehicles, and then Toyota just perfected it. And I think those guys are the gold standard. If you want to see how to implement lean, you got to look at Ford and Toyota. Ford more so for being open-minded and innovative and bold to be able to implement these things. And Toyota more on the side of let's become a lean purist and implement it to the nth degree possible in everything. Like zero waste is the goal. Like I said, Ford took a really big step, and he was a trailblazer in the industrial American landscape to implement it. But Toyota just took it to the next level.
And Toyota did that, like, I don't know, a half a generation later or something. What one of the things that you shared was that the value, it starts with understanding value from the customer's perspective. Talk to me about that a little bit, because in my mind, like when I think about Henry Ford and the assembly line and the things that increase efficiency, that feels for me like almost obviously a cost-saving maneuver or a time-saving maneuver. What's the relationship there to the customer's experience or the customer's perspective?
Yes, I think there's a famous quote by Henry Ford that states, we can build any color vehicle you want as long as it's black. And I think that's where the reason why he said that was, what did the customer really want? They wanted a cost-effective mode of transportation. And I joke about this too. Like, I love Spirit Airlines. Like, you get to sit in this modern marvel that flies you across the world. Like, who cares if I get a beverage? Who cares if I get in-flight entertainment? I'm going from one coast to the other coast of America in 3 to 4 hours. I mean, that's phenomenal in itself. And I think, that's what we really want when we fly. Now that we've got a little bit, developed a little bit more, we have to add these bells and whistles. And I think one of those things that Henry Ford recognized was with his bells and whistles. So I think he identified properly what the customer really wanted, and that was a low-cost form of transportation. Unfortunately, my favorite airline is going bankrupt now, but Henry Ford did identify what the customers wanted, and he gave it to them.
So it's almost making decisions with their best interests in mind, with the awareness that they may not understand that those are their best interests at times?
Correct. A lot of it is like Apple. Apple is a closed ecosystem, but to an extent, the people who use Apple products love it because of it's a closed ecosystem. So they've identified what they want. It may not be completely open for everybody, everything, but it is what the people want. I mean, there's a lot of organizations that, just imagine if Henry Ford would have focused on, I want to provide 5 different paint schemes or colors to my vehicles. And he focused his energies on creating different paint booths and managing inventory and all that kind of stuff. Like, the $5 day may have not happened. It may have been delayed. The revolution in transportation may have not happened. Bringing affordable transportation to the masses may have not happened because it would have been distracted. And what was the real value at that time? What the customers really want? They wanted and needed low-cost transportation.
And what that kind of does in my mind is it creates some prioritization, So because it's really easy, and we do this a lot in business, we get focused on the color choices. And so we spend our resources optimizing the color choices and the ability for the customer to easily choose the color that they want and things like this. And there's an undercurrent somewhere else. There's a dysfunction that exists that we're not addressing because we're so focused on maybe this other thing. How does these other principles, what other principles exist in lean manufacturing, and what's their connection to that? What's their connection to that value from the customer's perspective?
So let's just go through the 5 principles. Maybe that'll answer itself, or we can dive into it a little bit more. And we're going to have different episodes talking about each different principle of lean. So 5 main principles of lean. Number 1, we talked about it. Identify value from the customer's perspective. Number 2, map the value stream. Number 3, create flow. Number 4, establish a pull system. And number 5, Kaizen, which is continuous improvement all the time. Pursue perfection with continual process improvement. So those are the 5 things, 5 principles. When you put them together, magic happens. And that's what Toyota has shown. And because Toyota showed it, the whole world has adopted it across industries, across processes, across everything. And the world is a less wasteful place for it. And because there's less waste, we have more resources. It's just like a snowball effect. Less waste, more resources, more ideation, more creativity, more ability to innovate. I can have, I can have an organization that I can run on 8 people instead of 10. What happens is those 2 other people, they're free to start their own organization or their own product ideas rather than pursuing this one idea. So I think it's not only just creating more profit or value and doing more with less, it's also freeing up resources. So as industries, we can do more and innovate more and push the boundaries more.
What's interesting is that as you share those 5 principles, you can feel connections to, the things that we talked about with the principles and with the 14 principles of management around things like perfection and seek improvement and think about the customer's perspective and things like that. Are these 5 principles hierarchical? Are they in relationship? Are they a flywheel? Are they, if you miss one, the other 4 will break? What's your sensibility about these 5 principles?
I think every single one of them is valuable independently. Like nobody's going to say, let's not identify a customer, add value per customer's perspective. Let's not map the value stream. Let's not create flow. Let's not establish a pull system, or we got it done. We improved it. We don't need to improve it further. Like there is not one that says that is not valuable. If you implement one, are you ahead of the game? Yes. But I think where the magic happens, or, use this word a lot too, where the synergy is when all 5 come together. And that's where it's really magical.
Do we start from, and we're going to have our next conversation is going to be more about this, but do we start from, or is it a prerequisite to understand the value from the customer's perspective so that we can then start to adapt everything to that vision?
I think, as organizations, we're here to solve problems. Unless you know what problem you're solving, like, what are we really doing? I think we need to understand, even prior to a prerequisite of even implementing this, like what are we even doing? Why are we even here? What problem are we solving? And am I solving it the right way from the customer's perspective? So, it is stated here, but I think really like you need to know why you're doing what you're doing, and does the market really want it or not? And then once you know what that is, then you can implement these different things. But like I said, independently, every single one of these will make you a better organization, but putting them together, I think, is going to help. And I think every organization has its own journey. I am not an expert at implementing lean. Going through this process with you, and I hope to become more knowledgeable about it. So I don't know if this is a process-based approach. It's let's create different categories and let's do things in parallel and see how it happens. Like, I really don't know. And hopefully we can do that. But I do feel like, even if you just say, I'm going to stop, I'm not going to focus on the customer perspective, but I'm going to create a pull system, you've already added value to the organization and indirectly added value to your customers. So none of these things are bad to do, but if you do them together, it's a lot more valuable.
I'm excited to dig in. Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech. We are starting a series. Join us as we explore, as we figure out, as we become genius expert authorities on lean manufacturing and the lean process. Looking forward to it, Jay. We'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers and followers. Consider becoming one today wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Hardware is Forever is designed, tested, engineered, and built by the manufacturing experts at Amtech. Learn more and let us help you envision your next project with a free Design for Manufacturing assessment at buildamtech.com/DFM.